Sierra Simone knows how to write romance, but that's a person I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. But wait, there's more. Can you tell that this is the face of pure joy? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily and this is the Astral Library, and do I have a bit of a treat for you guys today. So as I'm sure you saw by the title and thumbnail for this video, that I am challenging myself to go outside of my normal reading, which is usually just fantasy and sci-fi. Those are my bread and butter. I'm constantly reading those. I'm knee deep in that genre, and thriller is a close second. One genre that I don't tend to read a lot of is romance, and particularly dark romance. And I thought, why not give that a try? Why not try to read like I'm a dark romance girly? So I decided, let's ask the queen herself for some dark romance recommendations. And of course, I'm talking about Baron at the Book Baron. If you haven't seen her channel, please go check it out. She's so funny and she reads so many books. I'm jealous. Every time she does a wrap up of what she read in the month, I'm like, girl, how do you have the time, the energy, the dedication to get all of those books done? Because I'm flabbergasted. And her thoughts on books are so much fun to listen to. I love to throw her videos on in the background and just do what I'm doing. She has some really good takes. She makes some really funny jokes. Go check her channel out. I'll make sure to link it down below. And she was kind enough to come up with a TBR list for me to do this video. She actually broke down her recommendations into categories, which I have here for us. So we're going to be reading one from every category she kind of gave me. So the first category is high school bully romance. And in this, she chose Vicious by LJ Shen and Hate Me by Ashley Jade. The book I'm going to be reading from this category is actually Vicious by LJ Shen, which she describes as a MF romance that is partly in high school, but mostly during their adult years. Definitely sounds up my alley. The next category we have is emotionally dark and sad vibes, to which she only listed one here, and that is Saint by Sierra Simone, which is part of the Priest standalone trilogy by Sierra Simone. I've been hearing a lot about that series, so I'm very interested in seeing what this one book is, because she describes Saint as a romance that has a heavy emphasis on mental health and exploring religion, but does not have any homophobia plot lines, which we love here. We don't want to deal with homophobia. The next category is Heroine's a Badass, which just feels like it was a category made for me. We know how much I love a badass female, and she had two really great picks in this one, and I had a hard time choosing. The first is Wretched by Emily McIntyre, which is a retelling or part of a Wizard of Oz retelling. It seemed really interesting. But the second one, and the one that I chose for this video, is Savage Lover by Sophie Lark, which she describes as a MF romance that has a fast and furious energy, and the heroine's a mechanic, and there's heist and a light mafia element. Little known fact about me, I obsess over Fast and Furious. I don't know what it is about that series, but I love it so much. I go see every movie in theaters. I pay money to go see those bad movies. I do. It's like food for my soul, okay? I've been a big fan for years, and reading that description, Fast and Furious elements, say less. Say less. So I cannot wait to get to that one. We are for sure reading that one, especially because I've had that series just on my radar. So I think dipping my toes into this one, I think that has the most likely elements for me to enjoy it, is a good way to see if I should go and read the other backlogs in it. And then the last category, which we will save for the end of this video, is you really go there, to which this is the most unhinged category. For this category, she recommended Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, Madhouse by Eliza James, and Anointed by Charity B. I also had a hard time picking for this one, because on one hand, I really wanted to choose the most out there of the stories, which seemed to be Madhouse to me, because she describes it as a FF romance that's a stepsister romance, where they were in a cult, but one recently escaped by killing her parents, and that just sounded so interesting. But it is the first in a duet that's unfinished, and it has a major cliffhanger. I can't do a cliffhanger right now. I can't. I will go insane if it's too good and you give me a cliffhanger, okay? I can't do it. And even if I hate it, if you give me a cliffhanger, I'm gonna read the next book and I'm gonna hate it. So we're not doing that one. The one I did choose to read for this category is Still Beating, which Barron describes this as a MF romance where they hate each other and that the hero is the heroine's sister's fiance. So we have a bit of a stolen lover. And here's where the unhinged comes from. They are abducted by a serial killer and they trauma bond. And that most of this book is about the heroine's journey healing after this event, but we're gonna get some fucked up serial killer thing, which I think is gonna be a lot of fun. And I think a great way to end this video. So you'll have to stick around to see how my reaction goes for that. I'm going to be going through these in the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna bring you along with me. You're gonna get all my thoughts, all my reactions. I'm not completely new to dark romance. One of the things with fanfiction is fanfiction often tends to like go down the darker romance path at times. So I've read many a dark romance, but I think this is my first time like really diving into dark romance as the genre currently stands and in this like new wave of dark romance. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun and we're just gonna dive straight in. The first thing I'm going to read, I have it here on my iPad. So we are going to start with Vicious, see if we can get it without the glare, by LJ Shen, which is the high school bully romance. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this and I will come back to you when I have some thoughts. Hello, it is about 7 o'clock. I have made progress in Vicious. I am 125 pages in and it's like 300 or so pages. So I'm roughly a third of the way through this book. I don't think I told you really what this book is about. So Vicious is a high school bully romance where we're following our two main characters, Vicious, whose real name is Barron Jr. But, you know, I don't blame him for wanting to go by Vicious if he's a junior, and particularly for a junior to a man he doesn't like. So he goes by Vicious, and he's essentially like the top dog badass boy in this high school. He's rich, he's got a mean streak to him, he is like the leader of this friend group, so he's like top dog, right? And our second character is Amelia, who is this kind of country bumpkin. She's from Virginia and her family moves to California to work for Vicious's family, and they are essentially the servants, and he calls her Help, which is like the most annoying nickname ever. Just like it's so unimaginative, and I'm just like, really, you couldn't choose anything, literally anything else. But I digress. So Amelia, or she goes by Millie, Millie's first day there, she goes to knock on Vicious's door to kind of ask him a question on behalf of her mom, and she overhears this conversation. She doesn't quite know what was going on, but when Vicious comes out and sees her standing there, he's just pissed. And he thinks that she knows something that she doesn't. And he decides from that moment on they're enemies. And he makes her life a living hell. And he does. He's rich and he has too much money and time on his hands. And he is like hopelessly infatuated with her. And she's just kind of like, she's also infatuated with him, but she's more like, but that's a person I don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole as much as I want to fuck him. He's just bad news. And so she doesn't date him, but she ends up dating his friend, which I still don't understand that connection and the reason why she did that. But I digress. I'm having fun with this book. The writing's not the best, and sometimes it's a little cringy, but like once you let your mind go and just like understand it's sometimes the way with these books and the genre of it, but I'm still having a lot of fun. And I think that's because that Vicious is like my type of toxic boy. If you're gonna give me any sort of toxic boy, it better be like the head honcho toxic boy. And he better be just like the tiniest bit of possessive. Like let him have this like insane desire to control her and for her to be his. Listen, I eat that shit up. I would never want it in real life, but this is not real life, baby. This is books. And I can have all my toxic men to my heart's desire, and Vicious is borderline my type of man, like toxic man. He annoys me every now and again. Again, he's just, I don't even know how to describe him. He's definitely got like the woe is me because he's got like a tragic backstory and everything. I wish he was just a little bit nicer, but I'm still pretty early on, so I'm sure I'm gonna get him being a little more nicer to Millie. But overall, he is my type of toxic man. He's mean, he's snarky, he's smart, he dresses well, tall, dark, and handsome, and just, again, a little bit of possessive asshole. Right up my alley. I may or may not finish this tonight. I'm kind of pausing to eat dinner, and I will probably read a little bit of this tonight, but I am reading a fan fiction that I kind of started this morning, and I'm very keen on finishing it, or at least continuing on. So we'll see which one kind of gathers my attention. This is also the reason why I don't do a lot of ebooks, because I'm always on my iPad when I'm reading fanfic. And so ebooks just make it that much easier to read in bed. We will see how far I get into this, but I will catch you with another update when I've gotten either farther into this book or maybe catch you up tomorrow when I finish this book. Who knows? Let's see when I go to bed tonight. I do have school tomorrow, but I don't have class until like 1, so we will see. Hello, it is the day after we started this, and I did indeed finish Vicious. I ended up not finishing it last night. I think I was like 50 or so pages to the end when I stopped last night, just because I knew I had to go to bed, otherwise I wasn't gonna sleep. I read more pages in the morning, and I read like the last 10 before class today, and I have to say, I had a lot of fun with it. Once I kind of like let go of my annoyances over the way it was written and some of the like cringy dialogue, overall I had a great time and was able to just turn my brain off and just kind of enjoy the relationship. I will say that as much as Vicious is like mostly my type of toxic man, I wish he was just a little nicer before he was trying to woo Millie, just because he's only doing it to get with her. As much as I love a toxic man who's just like mean and a bit of an asshole and smart and witty, I also love the I'm not nice to anyone but you, and like even though when I'm mean to you I'm also nice to you, and like that's what makes him so appealing, right? If you're gonna have a bully romance and have this guy be a douche, there needs to be some sort of like attractive quality and redeeming quality that pulls you back in despite him being an asshole all the time. I need that, and I feel like this book didn't have that. It felt like more like it was this strong physical attraction between the two of them. It didn't hit all the time for me, but I still had a lot of fun. I think I'm giving this one a 3.5 out of 4 stars, which will be rounded up to a 4 stars, just because I did have a lot of fun with it, but I wanted just a little bit more from it to like really get to that 4-star rating. But overall, I had a good time. So this is a great start to this little challenge. So far I'm liking it. So far I'm enjoying myself. So I will catch you in the next update when I have started Saint and I have some thoughts about it. Hello, it is Saturday about 12:03, so it's like just 12 o'clock. And it's been a couple days since I last finished Vicious. So I'm like well and truly into my weekend, which is nice because your girl was so tired after this week. But it means I haven't done like a ton of reading. I was doing some more reading for another vlog I'm doing where I'm trying to do like mood read till I get a 5-star. So I was reading a bit more of that. I haven't really touched my dark romance, but I thought today would be a perfect day to like jump right back in. I don't have anything going on today. It's just a relax at home day. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's no longer gloomy, which I'm so thankful for. I'm so over the gloom and the rain. But I have my iPad here, my bigger iPad, and I'm going to be reading Saint by Sierra Simone. So it's a thick boy, but I'm excited for that because I think it's gonna give me like the development of the relationship that I really crave. Because while I enjoyed Vicious and I thought like their chemistry was fun, I just feel like they didn't have like a ton of chemistry other than like a physical attraction. Like I needed more of the personality and the emotional attachment that would make their like confession of I love you like hit harder. But I'm hoping with more pages we have more development and more time to get attached to them. I'm gonna start this one and I think I'll read for maybe like an hour or two and then I'll come and update you again. Like what's going through my mind as I dive into this one, particularly because this is definitely getting more into the forbidden romance because we do have this like priest. I think he's a priest in this one. I mean, the whole series is called Priest, so I think they're all priests, but so definitely more forbidden romance. Hopefully a little spicy, hopefully a little fun. So I'll keep you updated when I have more thoughts and I've started this. Hello. I figured I'd update you guys on my thoughts on Saint as I'm kind of redoing my nails because my nails are trashed. And so I've been reading for the past couple hours and just like listening to music. And I got to page, I think I ended on a page 166. So I finished part 1, which was so good. Oh my God, it's so good. It's everything that I think was missing from Vicious in that I feel like the relationship is just so much more developed, and I feel the connection between the two of them that goes much more than just like physical lust. Like, I could really feel that our main character, Aiden, or Brother Patrick, yearning for his ex-boyfriend. I don't think I've told you guys, like, what the story is about, so I figured I should do that. So we are following Aiden Bell, who was a, like, millionaire finance bro. Something happened one night where he just realizes that if he continues his life the way he has, he's going to end up dead, assumedly by his own hand. And so out of desperation not to end that way, he makes his way to the local monk, friar thing. What is it called? Monastery. He makes his way to the local monastery via the gift shop and is like, please let me become a monk. I need this. And he just like essentially devotes himself to God, because otherwise his depression essentially is going to swallow him alive. But in doing so, he's leaving behind this 5-year relationship he's had with his admitted love of his life, that there was nothing wrong with this relationship, that they were madly in love with each other and have really cute moments too. Like, we get glimpses of their past together and just, so sweet. He abandoned everything he knew. He gave his ex-boyfriend the keys to his house. He gave up all his worldly possessions, donated all his money, and essentially was just like, nothing. He needs to fully devote himself to God. Otherwise, he's gonna see himself slip into this darkness. And however, when we meet him in this story, he is not quite happy per se. He's still looking for something more at the monastery, and he's not quite sure what it is. He still very much is yearning for Elijah, his ex-boyfriend, every day, and like is haunted by him in his dreams. And he doesn't know what to do about it. So he thinks he needs to devote himself more and to go to a different type of monastery called a trapperary, something like that, which is just a stricter form of life, like a monk life, in that they're more dedicated to work and more dedicated to kind of devotion and silence. And his abbot essentially is like, well, we want to do some research with the other breweries because apparently monks make beer. That is not what I thought when they said brewery. I was like, oh, I wonder what other application is it. No, it's beer. The monks are making beer. His abbot's like, hey, we want to go see what's going on in these other breweries in the trapperary monasteries. And we want to send you because we can see that you are needing something different. Maybe this would be good for you. Aiden is like, yes, I want to go. This is exactly what I need. I need that silence. I need that stricter, harsher lifestyle to kind of further my devotion to God. Well, the same day he gets that news, we also get Elijah coming to visit to tell Aiden that he is getting married to his new fiance, Jamie. Aiden's heartbroken, but he can't do anything because it's been I don't even know how long it's been since I think it's been another 5 years or so. Time's a little weird in this book. I'm never quite sure how much time has passed between certain events. And learning that Elijah's going to be married just like devastates him, and he commits even more going to the monasteries, which are over in Europe. And so he's like, I need to go, I need to get away, because he doesn't know what to do with the devotion he has for Elijah and the love he has for Elijah, because he feels like it's in conflict for his love and devotion to God. And he is essentially running away. And people are really trying to get him to like take note of that. Like, hey, is this really what you want? Like, it's not bad to love. And that's one great thing about this book, that there's no like homophobia actually in it, thank God. But it is like definitely surrounding these ideas of devotion and religion, which is really interesting because I'm not a religious person in any shape or the form. And in fact, it just not super interested in it. But this has been really interesting to see how it's being handled in this book and how it's being handled in this context. I think it's being handled very well in a way that even someone like me who is not any sort of religious and has no interest in religion is still finding this relatable and interesting to read about, because it's not like they're super that's a lie. They're monks. It's not like they're like blindly devoted to the church system, especially since it's a Catholic church system. It's like Catholicism. They're very much addressing the issues with the church, and specifically with the Catholic Church. We have Aiden, who actually reveals to us that his sister was sexually abused by a priest or like a parish or whatever, and ended up taking her life, and how for a long time that hurt his family and actually spurs him to create a mental health group within the monastery he's at, that like it's openly talking about therapy and taking medication for mental health and depression and stuff like that. All that's really cool. But it is a really interesting look at devotion especially because we are looking at a character who is struggling with his own sense of what he thinks he needs to do to be devoted, even though we can clearly see that it's not always working for him, that something's still missing, and that by trying to like throw himself deeper into it and deny his love for Elijah, it is hurting him. It doesn't help that after Elijah visits and like dumps this on him that, hey, I'm getting married, he comes back and essentially is wanting to write a magazine article, journal article on how the monks are brewing beer for like an anti-capitalist view and just kind of how that all got started. It's fucking with Aiden a lot because of course it is. He is just finding himself really tested by all of this because Elijah's been this like invisible ghost and now he's, you know, right in front of him and testing those devotions and those kind of like desires, for lack of a better term. And it's their tension is palpable. It's so easy to see how they were so in love and why they were drawn to each other, because they're drawn to each other even now. And even though Elijah has a fiance and Aiden is a monk, but again, their just connection so electric, and we see them kind of clashing together. We get an almost kiss, and then we get an actual kiss that almost develops into something further. If it wasn't for Jamie calling Elijah and interrupting them. It's just so much angst and tension. It's so good. Like, it is so good. I am thoroughly enjoying myself reading this book because I want them together, and like the hurt and the tension just like make me want to keep reading for like hours and hours. And I probably will. I'll probably be picking up this book later tonight as well, just because I need more. And the only reason why I kind of stopped is it felt like a great stopping point to give my mind a break, so I don't like burn myself out on this book before I have a chance to like really devote myself to it and enjoy it, rather than sometimes I feel like if I read for too long, even if I'm enjoying a book, I kind of like get exhausted on it. I'm excited to continue, especially because now they're gonna be alone together on this like extended trip, and just I could already feel the sparks beginning to fly between them. And I'm really interested in seeing kind of like what really happened the night that Aiden like completely broke down and like decided to come to the monastery, because it sounds like it was like a huge mental break that very well could have ended with him committing suicide if he wasn't careful. I'm curious about that. I'm also curious to see how this is all going to resolve. Like, are we going, I'm pretty sure they're going to get together, but I'm wondering how this is going to look in terms of like, what is Faith going to do for Aiden? Are we going to see, because I think his faith is really important to him and that this devotion is really important to him, but I don't think that this is the form it needs to take for him. And I'm interested in seeing like what that form is going to be for him. I'm so enjoying this. It's so good, guys. It's so freaking good and it's so freaking cute. I've laughed while reading it. I've like wanted to like kick my feet because it's just so sweet. Sierra Simone knows how to write romance so freaking well. That just like gets you swooning and gets you really rooting for this couple. And that kind of like makes it very believable in how this would be a forbidden, like not only just a forbidden romance, but why this is so forbidden and why the tension's so palpable. Because we know that they shouldn't be together based on the vows that Aiden took, and just kind of their relationship in general is rife with pain and sort of mistrust, and just don't know necessarily how to like combat. They have history, a lot of history that would damn a lot of couples. But this Sierra Simone's just like doing such a great job at making it believable, and again, really painting that tension between them that I think that forbidden romances really need to be successful, because why else are we going to make this believable? Why are we going to have this forbidden element if we're not going to break it, if we're not going to feel the tension, the consequences that would come if we break it? So I'm thoroughly enjoying this, like a lot. So I'm going to finish painting my nails. I just have my thumbs left, so that's great. And then I will catch you later when I have an update past when I've read some more. Hello, it's been a couple days since I last updated you, but I am about 100 pages away from finishing it. A little less. I think I'm like 95 pages, but like 100 pages away from finishing Priest. And I'm still really enjoying it. I left off on part 4, like just at the start of it, which is like chapter 40 something. So like I'm almost there. And I'm still thoroughly enjoying the relationship between Aiden and Elijah, because it's just so filled with like tension and sweetness and like this sense of dread. because all part 2 and 3, as they're kind of traveling to these different monasteries and just falling back into each other, has just been filled with like this very like tension, because they kiss at the end of part 1 and they're very much falling back into old habits in parts 2 and 3. And it's been so good because it gives you that satisfaction of like seeing them together, but it's not like pointless. It doesn't feel like, okay, now they're perfect, everything's fine, because we're still having that tension of Aiden doesn't know what he wants to do and how he's trying to like reconcile his relationship with Elijah and his faith with God, and like what is this going to look like, because he's convinced himself so much that he needs a monastery to kind of live a fulfilling life, and this is the only way, and he's like trying to convince himself, but he's also realizing that he can't give Elijah up. And we get moments of like Elijah's point of view where he's just like so in love, and I've always been in love with him, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I just want to have this time, because if I'd rather have this time than regret not getting to kiss you one more time. It's so good. It's so angsty and fun. It is getting a little ridiculous, I would say, in Aiden's perspective, just a tiny bit, just a teeny tiny bit, because he's still like so adamant that this is gonna end in 3 weeks, even though like everything's pointing to like things have changed. Like clearly things have changed, and that you need to be thinking of what is an alternative to what you've been doing and what you want in your life, because clearly the monk life isn't working, or like it's not working in its entirety, specifically this like idea of chastity. Like it's not helping you in any sort of way, and in fact it's just adding on to this like angst and guilt you're feeling when everyone around you is like, listen man, like it may not be for you, and that's okay. The denial has been just slightly annoying, just like, oh my god, Aiden, we need to be thinking of other solutions here. But I get it, it's to add to that tension, and it seems like in part 4 we're really going to release this tension and like that particular like mode of like thinking. I'm still very much enjoying myself. I'm still very much enjoying this book. One thing I am very excited about coming up in this next part is that Aiden's finally gonna tell Elijah and, you know, us, the reader, what happened the night that led him to become a monk. So I'm very interested in seeing like what actually happened that night. What was that breaking point? And I'm very curious to see how Elijah's going to react to that answer that I think he needs, because he still doesn't quite understand why Aiden left. And I think part of himself still blames himself, even though Aiden's like, it was nothing about you, and that I've still loved you all this time. That's all my thoughts. I'm like I said, I'm very excited to finish this book. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's definitely my speed of like dark romance, like, because the forbiddenness is fun, but it's just like the relationship and the build and the slow burn of it's just it's right up my alley. I think I'm gonna read a little bit more, and then I will catch you when I have an update, either when I finish this book or like I confirm some of my thoughts. But I will see you then. So I finished. It's about 3:50, and literally after I filmed that last clip, I just like sat down, I grabbed a little bit of a snack, and I just finished it. I finished the last 100 pages, and it was so sweet. It was so good. Oh my god. I loved everything about it. I thought the relationship was really well done. I thought the plot was engaging, and even though I guessed some of the things, like yes, I knew he was having a very major depressive episode and all that, it was still enjoyable. I ended up giving this a 4 stars, and it earned every single one of those stars. And the only reason I ended up not giving it a 5-star is just because I had moments where it dragged, like we were just like dragging this out to drag it out for the tension and for the vibe, and it's just like I didn't care. I think we could have cut out some of this and it still would have had a really big impact. It was still an amazing read. I enjoyed every second of it. The smut was good, even though I felt like there was just a little too much smut for my taste. It was just like smut all the time. And I ended up skipping over some of the smut scenes because I was like, we're done with this. I want to get to the plot. I was so interested in the plot and the character development that I was like, I don't care about the smut. Get me to the plot, which is not uncommon for me. No, this is a really good read. I'm so glad I read this. It was definitely a great read. I had so much fun. I love the characters. I love the story. I love the tension. I'm curious to see if I'm gonna love any of the other picks as much as I love this one, because I felt like this was a perfect one for me. Like, we have the forbidden romance aspect of it, which gives it a bit of fun and spice, but what really drove this was that relationship between Aiden and Elijah, because it was just so believable and you felt it and you yearned for them to get together. And it was just the moment they came together at the end, and then their wedding, it was just perfect. It was just perfect. I might have to read some more Sierra Simone if she's able to write that great of a relationship, because oh my god, I need more of it. I need more of it in my life, okay? It's been a while since I've had like a swoon-worthy couple and like a couple I'm like really rooting for. So this has been fun. Okay, up next is the category Heroine's a Badass, which I'm going to be reading Savage Lover by Sophie Lark, which has a bit of mafia in it. So the remaining 2 books are shorter. I think they're somewhere around the 300-page range, which will be nice because they'll just be quick and easy reads, which I'll need because I'm planning to finish this vlog by next week, and I still have to edit it. So that 2 shorter books will be nice. So I'm going to do that. I don't think I'll start it tonight. I think I just want to marinate in my love and swooniness of Saint for a second. So I'll catch you when I'm getting ready to start the next book. All right, hello. It has been a couple days since I last kind of updated you guys, but I am on chapter 21 of Savage Lover, which means I'm pretty much done with this book. I am at page 233 of 338. So I have like 100 pages left of this book. And I haven't updated you at all of my kind of thoughts while I was reading. And that's because I just kind of haven't been enjoying this one. I don't know, there's something about this book in particular that is just feeling like a drag. And it's frustrating because it has elements that I really should love and like gravitate towards. But what I think what it is that I don't care about the relationship between the 2 like main characters at all. I don't think they have any chemistry. I really don't. And the book keeps trying to like force this idea that they have chemistry down my throat, but they really just don't have any. Like there's no chemistry between them whatsoever. So we are following our main character Camilla, who is like dirt poor. She works in her father's mechanic shop and they're barely scraping by. Like she lives on the porch and she's essentially the sole kind of breadwinner for her family because her father is not doing so well and her brother's still in high school. And so she's just trying to scrape by. Well, one night her brother likes to hang out with these rich kids. So he's going to a party and she's like, hell no, you have work the next day. And she goes to take him. Now she's dragging him out of the house. They get pulled over by a cop and they find out that her brother has like a whole bunch of Molly in his backpack. Camilla is like, okay, nope, I will take the blame. We can't have you ruining your life. Well, instead of going to jail, the cop instead decides to rope her into being a informant, and he's kind of a sleazeball. And now she is tasked with finding out more about the kind of drug ring, and in particular, the cop is interested in a relationship with our male love interest, Nero, which is a dumb name. I'm sorry, it's a dumb name. But Nero is part of like the Italian mafia, and his family has this like construction company that is like the legitimate face of like the Italian mob, you know? And Nero is just like this reckless, violent, I don't care about anyone type of person. And yeah, but he loves cars almost as much as Camille does, or as much as Camille does. And that's something they start bonding over and they kiss and he's like, it's never felt like this before. Can you tell I've been enjoying it? Can you tell that like this is the face of pure joy? Yeah, I have not been having fun with this one. I think especially after coming off of Saint that had such good tension and just like real romantic connection between the 2 characters, this one is just so flat. It's so freaking flat. I just see no reason why these characters should be together or like want to be together. Other than this interest in like cars, they really don't talk to each other. There's no other things like, oh my god, he's so hot. Okay. And why should you suddenly care? All the men in these books are kind of toxic. Like that's just the name of the game. But Nero's not even like the fun toxic. He's just like literally loves to get into fights for the fuck of it. And I'm a badass and no one, I'll fuck around with anyone. I don't care. And he's mean to her, sorta. So there's not even like any of like tension between them in that sense. And Vicious is mean. And like that's fun because our main character like gives it back just as much. But Camilla, while she's a badass in her own right, there's just like, I feel like she doesn't really fight back against Nero, and I don't understand why she wants to be with him. Especially because she's like painted as this like, I've been trying to get my whole life together to make sure my family's all right and taken care of. why risk everything for Nero, who doesn't really seem to care too much about you in the first place? So why risk it all for him other than the fact that he's hot? It's not believable. I don't see the tension between them. And now they're planning a bank heist. So like, that's a thing. I will say I do understand why Baron called this Fast and Furious vibes, because this is definitely just like Fast and Furious, like the first movie, all into one type of book. Like we have the street races, we have the illegal family drama. All of that's really interesting. In fact, that's the only thing I'm reading for at this point, because I could care less about them and their sex scenes and like anything to do with them, honestly. So I think I'm gonna try to power through these last 100 pages just so they're done. And then we can move on to our last book. But I will come back when I have this book done. Hello. If your girl looks tired, it's because she is tired. She has just finished finals. And as a teacher, that means she has graded all her finals and all the last minute essays and answered students who are trying to get a better grade after I've already submitted their grades. So, you know, your girl is tired. But as of today, which is Tuesday, March 19th, your girl's done. Everything's submitted. Edits almost damn near 5 o'clock. Traffic was awful today. But enough of that. I cannot remember if I updated you on how I felt about Savage Lover, but I did finish it a week ago. And I just like haven't gotten to like telling you how I felt about the ending because again, aforementioned finals. But Savage Lover, it's done. And I have to say, I hated it. I think I ended up giving it 2 stars out of 5. I really enjoyed the like Fast and Furious elements. Like that is something that Baron said, like, oh, this is like a Fast and Furious vibes. And that is there. That was the most fun I had with the book. Everything else about it though, kind of mid, kind of awful. I think what really drove this book down so far for me is the fact that there is no chemistry between the love interest and our female character. I just like, there was nothing between them. I don't understand why they were together. I don't see the appeal. I thought, God, what was his name? It was something stupid. Yeah, Nero Camille, no chemistry. I think Nero is just a stupid character. He's not even the fun toxic lead, okay? He's just toxic, and I saw no reason for them to be together or even really want to be together. Like what drew them together? It was just all really quick of a romance for me, and I think I just wanted a little bit more there. And I think especially coming after Saint, which I really, really enjoyed and thought it had a really great development of the romance and I could see the tension between them. This just fell flat. Like I saw no connection between them whatsoever. And I was like, and when they get together, I'm like, okay. And then they're like, I have never loved anyone like this before. I was like, have you not really? Have you not? And so when we got to the smut in the books, I was just like, I don't care. I could care less about this smut because I could care less about this relationship. All that to say is 2 stars. This was definitely the worst one I've read because Vicious, while I didn't think their romance was like super well developed and I thought it was more like a physical relationship than like an emotional relationship, they at least still had some chemistry and like it was more believable of like why they were drawn towards each other. Okay, we're gonna put that one in the past, okay? Because I didn't got no more energy to talk about that book. Not in the slightest. Okay, so the next book we have is under the category You Really Want to Go There. And for this, Baron recommended 3 books. Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, Madhouse by Liza James, and Anointed by Charity B. For this category, I'm actually gonna go with Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman because it sounds the most unhinged. So Baron described this as a romance between our main character and her sister's fiance. Which at first I'm like, oh man, that's kind of fucked up. But wait, there's more. Her and her sister's fiance get kidnapped by a serial killer and are, you know, tortured. And this is about them trauma bonding and healing from that kind of like aftermath. That sounds so fucking unhinged. I'm here for it. I'm here for something unhinged and fun and just kind of borderline silly. And I'm hoping that this is it. I've heard a few people talk about Still Beating now, like since this list was created for me. So I'm hoping it's good. I'm going to start reading today just because I need something to turn my brain off because it's been a day of student essays and academic thinking and how to grade and I need something fun and easy. But first, I need a shower and I need PJ. So I'm gonna do those 2 things and then I'm gonna come back at you with my thoughts on the start of Still Beating. Hi friends! See what I did there? How's my Baron impression? I got the eyeliner and the red lipstick and of course the Metallica t-shirt, which I totally didn't go out to buy so I could do this little bit. No, that'd be crazy. Why would I do that? But it is directly after I filmed that last clip and I ended up reading Still Beating all night and finished it. So we could say that this last recommendation was definitely a hit. I thoroughly enjoyed Still Beating. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It would have been a 5-star read, but I had 2 major issues with the book. The first was just like the opening sections of the book I felt were just not great. And it's mainly due to the writing, which felt really cringy. I remember reading the first chapter and being like, oh my God, I'm going to hate this book. Something about the way it was written, the like weird innuendos and like the awkward sentences and the interjections of like popular culture, I was just like, was not for me. I thoroughly dislike when popular culture is like taking center stage in a book for like no other reason other to say, hey, I'm hip and modern. So like that did not go well for this book. And then the second major issue I had was just fucking Cora. Cora at times in this book is insufferable. She is insufferable. She's like the not like other girls, and she's constantly quoting Shakespeare, and she's an English major and an English teacher, and she's just so traumatized. And like, I get it. The girl is traumatized. I'm not discounting that at all. I think Hartman does a great job of handling trauma in this book, both for Cora and for Dean and how they handle their relationship. I think that was so well done. In fact, Dean was my favorite part about this book. He is such a believable love interest that went through these like traumatic things and like talks about that he went through traumatic things, even if no one else like understands and like is acting like a normal human being. He's totally normal, totally believable. I loved his relationship. I loved his perspective. His perspective was my favorite part of the book. Cora, again, was insufferable to me. She read very much like the like early 2000s Heroine, again, the not like other girls kind of pick me girl. That's how Cora reads. And she was just so unlikable. There's moments where I really did like her and I found her relatable, especially like her obsession with dogs. Love that. But sometimes she would, like, the things she would say and just the way she would, like, push and pull Dean. I get that it's trauma related, but there's a point where it's like, okay, girl, you understand that you're doing this. Why aren't you doing anything about it? Anything. Literally anything. Other than, okay, I know this is bad, and then I do it again. It's like, it's not even the fun thing. Okay, I'm not gonna rant about Cora through this little thing, because I did still really enjoy this book. Like I said, I ended up giving it 4 stars. Almost a 4.5. I've lowered it to a 4.25 just because like thinking about Cora makes me infuriated. But I found like the concept of the matchmaker killer so intriguing. I would have loved to read more about that. And just like, I'd love to see a movie or TV show about that. I think that'd be a really interesting just like murder mystery show. That being said, I will not go read like the second book that is dealing with Tabitha. I'm not going to go read the book with Tabitha because that shit's going to be sad. Okay, we already got the hint. The person she was in love with dies. We're not doing it, okay? We're not doing it. I'm not getting my heart broken. We're not doing it. I don't care that I'm gonna get to learn more about the matchmaker. I'm not going through that heartbreak. I don't care that she can get another love interest. I'm not doing it. So we're gonna leave it here. As much as I would love to learn more about the matchmaker and just like, I would love, again, to see that as like a thriller mystery book. I think that would have been really cool and really fun. And I'll have to dive and see if anyone has like a similar type of villain. That would be like my cup of tea in terms of like murder mystery, like CSI type shit. I'm all for it. So that aspect of the book, loved it. The relationship between Dean and Cora, really well done. At first, I thought they were gonna be kind of dumb. Like this like antagonism between them was like, okay. Especially like when they first got kidnapped and Cora's like, I still hate you. It's like, girl, we have bigger problems to worry about than a dude who used to like bully you in high school and like really only teased you and you teased him back. So we have bigger problems. But the more I saw them in the kidnapping situation, the more I saw them as they're like healing afterwards, like I felt their relationship was really believable. Certain aspects I didn't feel was believable. Like if Dean, when we first get Dean's perspective, he tells us about the moment he first saw Cora and how in love he was, and he like was imagining their kids and their future, and somehow ends up dating her sister. I don't understand that logic. Like how, if you were so in love with Cora, why did you end up going with Mandy. There's weird things in this book that just like feel forced and just like feel so awkwardly like put together. Like the author didn't know what to do. They're like, well, we're just gonna do this because I want tension and I want this to be the forbidden romance. So I'm gonna make him go with her sister for 15 years. Like, how? I wish this book was longer. If only so I could really understand some of the moves the author was making, like maybe see more of the relationship between Mandy and Dean, which seemed to have this like huge emotional impact and like have this huge emotional payoff like in the middle of the book. I'll always love you though. It's like, I didn't see anything of them. And we were only told it through Cora's perspective, and Cora is kind of like not the best narrator for that because she has such a skewed vision of Dean. So again, I would have just liked to see that a little bit more, even in just Dean's perspective, like how did he fall in love with Mandy? Where did this connection come from? Where did he kind of like see his affection shifting from Cora to Mandy? Like what was that moment? I think that would have given the breakup scene that we got in this book a lot more weight because we would have seen that really this is a situation that fucked Dean up like so emotionally, and not just because he's trauma bonding with Cora. I promise I didn't hate this book. I actually really liked it, but I do see a lot of flaws in it, and it's one of those stories that I think if I was reading in any critical form, I definitely would have knocked it a lot more. But because I am reading this and this whole video is just an experiment to try a different genre and just to really have fun with it, I'm a little more lenient. As much as I'm like harping on it for these like minor things, like what I wish it would have done, I still again really enjoyed this book and I thought it was a lot of fun, and I can see why a lot of people enjoy it. Because again, I sat all night reading it, and let me tell you, I was tired yesterday. I thought, okay, I'm gonna read for an hour. I'm gonna put this book down and go to bed before 7 o'clock because I'm just exhausted. No. Your girl read the whole book. I don't think I went to bed till like 10 and it was just like on my mind, okay? It was good. I enjoyed it. But that is actually the last book of this challenge where I read like a dark romance girly. And I have to say, I had a lot of fun. I think overall I enjoyed more books than I didn't. I think the only book I hated was Savage Lover. Savage Lover is the only one I don't think I really enjoyed, or I in fact just hated. I do not think that was a good book whatsoever. Vicious was okay. I had fun with it. I don't think it was the strongest book, nor do I think that like the romance would like last in any capacity, but it was fun. I loved Saint, and I really enjoyed Still Beating. I think if we were to rank them, I would go first Saint, then Still Beating, then Vicious, and then finally at the bottom, Savage Lover. Again, we don't have to talk about that one. Okay, we'll just put it aside and we'll act like that didn't exist. But what does this mean for my reading? I don't think I'm gonna become a dark romance girly. As much fun as I had for this vlog, I think I can only really handle so much of dark romance, and just like the things that are common in dark romance and the things that are kind of like widely accepted and kind of like looked over, just like sometimes they really annoy me. Particularly, I am a person that is really into a slow burn, and I feel like a lot of dark romances are a quicker burn than I would enjoy. Again, I love that pining period. I want them to have angst and like just yearn for the other person. Saint was the best example that we see that yearning through most of the book, and even though we get a physical relationship quite early on, the emotional like connection and payoff isn't there until like way later in the book. So that's the perfect level that I want. So some dark romances definitely offer that, but I think as a whole, dark romance really isn't for me. But I am definitely more willing to try than I am to just write it off like I kind of was. Like I said, I've read some dark romances, but it was never a genre that I was like pulled towards and even really saw myself reading. So this was the first time like I just dedicated myself entirely to dark romance. And it was fun. Had a lot of fun reading these books. I don't think I will be picking up a ton of dark romances to read, but I will be open to recommendations. So if you like have a romance like Saint or Still Beating, let me know in the comments because those were my favorite, and I would definitely enjoy reading either more from those authors or just books like them. So again, leave me some comments. Maybe you can convert me from being a fantasy girly to a dark romance girly. Who knows? But that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed this experiment. And again, thank you so much to the Book Baron for creating this list and, you know, inspiring this whole video and this whole look. Like, girl, you got style. I can see why you are constantly rocking the red lip because it's a vibe. But that's it for me. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye!